Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of the show, Trek Wednesday. We have a special guest here tonight. Our temporal agent, Darth Proteus, has come from the other side of the universe and the other side of time and space itself in order to be able to show up here on the show and give us some new intel. Star date right now is 2016.188 at 22:10 Eastern Standard Time. I am joined by our regular hosts right here, the best panel in the business, starting with our chief of cheesiest and ultra cheesy and so cheesy yet still so damn space rich, Captain SOB.
Hello.
Our chief ironic medic, trying to make sure we all stay up with a whole bunch of stims, Captain MK.
Hey, changes to heal stuff this week. Total stealth changes. Excited about.
Hopefully it'll be some good stuff for all of us.
Most of us.
Most of us, he says. The chief emergency role-playing hologram slash chief immersion expert slash chief of ship porn provider slash, oh my gosh, you just made Cryptic a lot of money, Zeph from Zeph Films.
What up?
And we have our head of the Grumpy Intelligence Agency, our newly minted Admiral Sarcasm Detector, who somehow is not detecting the sarcasm. We'll go on with this one here anyway.
You expect that he would?
Well, I expect that, probably just filling out more paperwork now.
I ran out of gravel. There he is.
I detected it. I just,
Bad. That lag is bad today, Cam.
Is it lagging? Am I hard to hear?
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I just didn't want to advertise it.
Ha ha. Anyway, first analysis of Agents of Yesterday. Let's go around the table here. We'll start with our guest, Proteus. Give us your pros and cons quickly in 30 seconds.
Wow, a whole 30 seconds? Jesus. Put the pressure on, why don't you?
got 23 seconds.
Pros, lots of cool new features, lots of, graphical improvements, less lag. The only con I see is there's not enough content.
Sarcasm. Mic check on sarcasm. Alright, we'll bump him for a moment here. We'll go over to Mikey.
It's actually been pretty interesting. I'm playing it at a slower pace than I think maybe the rest of you guys are. Like level 8 or 9. But I'm not a huge fan of TOS, and I'm really pretty immersed. It's not terrible story. The complaints I hear, like Proteus said, I think, is that it's way too, the AOI content's just too short. But some of those rewards are cray.
Thank you very much, sir. SOB.
Well, I haven't created a new character yet because I've been too busy, opening this new lockbox and just enjoying the vengeance in these phasers. I don't have much to complain about right now. These new JJ phasers are amazing, and I just can't stop watching them fire. They just look so great.
So you're saying the animation is so pretty? It's so pretty?
These weapons and these ships greatly help my immersion. I rate this expansion 6 out of 5.
Wow. Okay.
I think that was longer than 30 seconds, man.
Yeah, it was. But I had a follow-up on him. You'll get yours, too. Zeph, what do you think?
I like it. It's good. I'll save my 20 seconds for something else.
Gotcha. Now, do we have Sarcasm back, or is he
Check.
still trying to figure out something here?
Audio check.
You're good.
Alright, well, I haven't had a chance to actually play any of the new content. I only unboxed one ship, which was the Kronos. I do have another ship that I want to play with. Actually, two other ships. We'll mention that in a second. But yeah, I haven't had any chance to play around with it today. So, yeah, that's my comment.
I've made the new tune. I started playing around a little bit with it. I know some people have had some complaints with the 1950s, 1960s TV style look, but I find it fascinating. I think they were going for a little bit of artistic flair with that, and it turned out to be okay. I wasn't annoyed with some of the missions. It wasn't tedious like what the starter tunes were for the Fed side, but I haven't dived into everything yet. But so far, it's okay as far as the mission is concerned. I would say it is less annoying is very good in my book, especially for a person that hates the level alts. As far as the new ships themselves, I've only played around with the Connie a little bit. That thing just it's for not being a big fan of JJ Trek, more for the philosophical side of Star Trek. The thing looks sweet. I'm not gonna lie, it looks sweet. They
I
did
saw
some
you
really
win it
good
this
work with
morning.
it. What was that?
I said I saw you win it this morning, and I did a little cheer to myself.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, but pretty much I'm starting to see some things with it. I got to play a little bit more in order to figure it out. So, jumping straight into this next segment here, we're gonna go with the chief of winning everything, you little cheesy bastard. What do you think about the lockbox and the rewards?
I think that the rewards are like a normal lockbox. They're a bit lacking. The only thing really of value from this lockbox is the ships, the console packs, and the traits. The rest is normal. Well, I guess the weapons also, because I really like these weapons. The drop rates, your normal 1 out of every 200 or 0.5% for all of the ships for each faction. A lot of people are opening on Fed, so if you're wanting to open these boxes, you're going to get a lot more by opening on a Romulan or Klingon tune, because everything, the console packs, trait packs, sell much better for those factions. I think the Fed one for like the Starship trait was going for 2 mil earlier, and I believe the Romulan and Klingons were still around 10 to 15 mil, if not slightly higher. I haven't checked recently, but there is not much going on over there.
Now, for this pack here, is one ship per faction, right? One for Fed, one for KDF, one for ROM.
Correct.
And the ROM one is a carrier. I believe we've already went through some of this stuff here before in a previous episode. Out of the three ships, which one do you think would be the most valued based off of the need for that faction?
Well, the Fed Constitution's nice, but it's very identical to the Tactical Odyssey. The most unique out of all of these, I would say, is that Klingon Bird of Prey. I don't have a Klingon tune to mess around with it, but it looks amazing. I don't think they have many T6 options, especially with pilot seating and that ship and everything it does. It's just amazing.
It's a great ship, but people are complaining it doesn't look very Klingon.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a Romulan vibe to it, but
It really does. It really does.
looks-
That's the first thing I noticed, but it looks mean.
Yeah, it'll look more Klingon to them when they actually pilot it and see those wings in action.
yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I haven't seen that, so
So when you're doing the pilot maneuvers, the wings articulate to the direction that you are moving in, correct?
Oh yeah, and it's gorgeous. I mean, they really put a lot of detail and attention into that aspect of those maneuvers to make those wings really pop and come alive when you're flying. It's highly noticeable.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Yesterday, Alan here, Zeph, and Proteus and a couple of other guys actually did a live stream showing off the ships, and in particular, want to just bring out the D4X. And when you are, like we mentioned, doing the pilot maneuvers, the wings are articulate. So yeah, it does the normal, bird of prey thing when you go from, idle to red alert, they kind of swing down. But when you're doing the pilot maneuvers, they will rotate, articulate independently of each other, depending on which pilot maneuver you're doing. So it's absolutely fascinating. A little bit of detail now. Primarily, you're the only one. If you're flying the ship, you're the only one who's going to notice these things. But that level of detail is quite fantastic. All these ships are really well done, graphics-wise. So, and I believe we're going to try getting some of the artists onto the show to talk about some of this stuff, possibly soon.
Soon,
we're going to have to soon trademark.
Soon.
But yeah, do we want to talk about the ships in detail? And
brief detail, how about that? Because we got a lot to cover over here today. Yeah, give us some brief detail on a little bit of the ships here.
All right, so my push to talk button is kind of wonky, so if you excuse me if I have to pause every once in a while to, give it a kick, whatever. But as Spencer said, the Constitution class is very much, what did you say? It was like a sovereign type ship?
It reminded me, of TAC Audi.
Close enough. So, standard cruiser, 4 weapons forward, 4 weapons back. The bridge officer layout, Lieutenant Commander Tactical, Ensign Engineering, Commander Engineering / Command. So this is a command ship. Lieutenant Science Temporal Operative, and a Lieutenant Commander Universal. Here's the funky bit in this thing. So it is a command ship, and usually the command ships or any specialized ship will have 2 bridge officers of the same spec. So a command ship would have had the command ships have a commander engineer and usually a commander command and then a lieutenant command of whatever. But this one has both a temporal operative and a command. And I think all the ships in the pack have something similar. They're all kind of semi-hybrid in that regards. The ship itself is quite decent. I mean, engineering, tactical and science consoles, 4 NG, 3 science, 4 tactical, standard fare. It's a decent layout for consoles. Very nimble ship, very fast. I mean, it's nothing absolutely spectacular stats-wise, but it's not bad either. It's not even like mediocre. It's a good ship. If you like the TAC Odyssey, you're going to enjoy this ship. And I guess we're going to find out more once we find out what the temporal operative is. Temporal spec, and you can add that operative if it adds a little bit extra to that. But other than that, there's not much else to talk about the ship apart from its looks. Looks very true to the movie. Now, here's a question. Has anyone actually unboxed this today and taken a look at it?
I have from the outside. I haven't looked at the bridge yet. I figured it would be very much lens flare-y-like, but I had to do some work for a project that's coming soon. Thanks to Zeph Films and his trailer for me on that one. The ship is actually pretty, like, pretty.
And it's roughly the size of a Galaxy. I think we noticed yesterday on the stream it was about a little bit taller, a little bit longer, but thinner. The Galaxy is wider because of the saucer section. It's like a really wide ship.
So they had to adjust the scaling from Kelvin timeline canon because it's a lot bigger than a Galaxy.
It is, well, technically it is a little bit bigger. Like I said, it's taller and longer, but I think it's the original designer designed it to be about
300
size.
meters.
Yeah,
Brian
it was supposed to be
Right. Ryan Church designed it to be about 300 meters. Alex Jaeger at ILM decided to arbitrarily double the size because he thought bigger was better. That's literally the explanation.
Pretty much. That's what I was about to say. One thing I did notice yesterday during the stream, Alan, is that when you went into the ship Taylor, it showed the actual TOS Connie deflector dish. I'm just wondering if that bug actually made it through onto live today, if that was still a thing.
I didn't notice. I don't think I really looked, but I was just chalking that up to Tribble. But no, I haven't really looked. I'm sure if it did, we would have probably seen something about it on the forums or in Reddit.
Is it possible that it's not a bug?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to have its own deflector dish. I mean, that's what shows on the pictures. So we're gonna have to take a closer look at that. Just the console itself on the ship is interesting. So it has the ability to jettison some of the extra warp cores that it has. So the JJ verse ships seem to have the brewery with multiple warp cores, and but this console will allow you to jettison multiples and they'll explode and get you out of a tough situation if you're stuck somewhere, and passively they'll increase exotic damage abilities. Yeah. Yes. Increase the damage dealt by your exotic abilities while also increasing maximum auxiliary power. So that is actually pretty interesting. Love to have a little bit extra auxiliary power.
I think everybody would at this point.
I see a lot of high demand for this ship. And I think it's more just for the look because it's a Connie than the actual capabilities of the ship. Because the trait is kind of the console itself is kind of What was that, Mikey?
Yeah. The trait is pretty meh. It looks better on the tin than it actually is because it's a Cat 1, I think.
Wait, hold on. I'm down but not out. Let me read this out for you because I'm having a rough time wrapping my head around this. So while this trait is slotted and your ship takes damage, you're able to reroute power from damaged systems to increase the maximum power potential of all your subsystems, allowing a higher cap on your potential performance. And this refrain gets added, this little note gets added to all these little things. No sources of plus max power stack, only the highest bonus will apply. So
right, I had it conflated with the vengeance trait, my fault.
There are other sources of max power from not just this pack, but there are older ships. I think was it the Andromeda had something like that along those lines? It doesn't matter. There's quite a few of them. So none of those stack. Only the highest apply. That was actually fixed a while back as well. So this is actually an interesting trait. Taking power from damaged systems to increase the maximum power on all subsystems. So if you get like a subsystem knocked off, you'll get more power.
It's more of a lore writing to say like, okay, you know what, 10-4 got damaged. Okay, we're going to shut down all the energy in 10-4 and divert it to all of the main subsystems. Something like that. So the more you're missing hull, starting from 80%, you will start getting plus whatever power to all subsystems, and then plus maximum to all subsystems, so long as it is the chief max, plus max on that subsystem.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. That makes sense. Okay, so that's actually an interesting power. It's I wouldn't say that's a must-have starship trait, but starship traits are a little bit pay to win. So if you don't have a lot of starship traits, then or you don't have a lot of paid for starships, then this one could be a little bit interesting. More
at least it's not
was better.
It's not a copy and paste, and that's nice. It's something brand new that we haven't seen yet.
Indeed. So let's talk about the Klingon ship next. So, looks-wise, it looks like the Klingon ships from the movies, the D4X. And although we didn't get to see much of them in the movie, if I remember correctly, it was just very brief, just a scene or two in there. But this is probably, I agree, this is probably one of the best ships in the pack, hands down. It is a raider. So it has 5 forward weapons, 1 aft weapon, and the interesting thing about this, it's like the Ouroboros. It is all universal. Every single bridge officer is universal. So you have an ensign universal, a lieutenant, 2 lieutenants, one of which is a / temporal operative, a lieutenant commander, and a commander universal / pilot. It's also a pilot ship. It has all the pilot maneuvers. 5 tactical consoles, 3 engineering, 3 science, which is pretty good for pretty standard for a raider, actually. Base turn rate of 22, impulse modifier of 0.24, inertial modifier of 80. So this will make it one of the fastest ships in the game. A little bit fragile. It does have the battle cloak. So it has the battle cloak and it has the raider flanking. So it's going to be a toss-up between this one and the Boros or the temporal raider. Right? I don't know what it's called.
Ouroboros?
It's a little bit of a yeah, okay. It's going to be a toss-up between the two. I think they're fairly evenly matched in this regards. I think the Klingons lucked out on this one. This one is just a little bit faster.
It's so sexy, and I want it, and I will own it.
I think who mentioned that it kind of looks like a little bit like a Romulan ship.
Well, remember back then, quote unquote, back then, the Klingons and the Romulans had a little bit of a trade agreement where they shared engineering and technology. So you would see kind of a mesh of designs between the two factions.
That's a pretty good canon way of explaining it. They traded cloaking technology and bird of prey stuff.
Hulls, engine technology.
If I remember correctly, canon-wise, the Klingons gave the Romulans a bunch of bird of preys.
Correct.
And the Roms had the cloak.
Yeah, D7s as well. Was it D7s or something along those lines?
Canon is fuzzy around that time. They were assumed to be D7s, I think. But there have been so many variants of the, Katinga-looking Klingon cruiser that it might have been like a D6 or something.
Possibly. In reality, it was just a budget issue. They didn't have the budget to make multiple different ships, so they just recycled the same models.
But still, it's a nice way of explaining it.
Yeah. So the next thing is the proton charge launcher, which is the console. The passive is just an increase to maximum hull and increase to the engine subsystem power. Again, the stuff doesn't stack, but this fires off a whole bunch of proton charges that do a little bit of damage here and there, and it's some interesting fireworks. Let's just say that.
And oddly enough, well, I guess it's not really oddly, but it is buffed by the proton consoles because I had a couple lying around, and I did see a little bit more damage out of it, but it's not much. You're better off slotting with whatever you use and use that as kind of like a secondary AoE weapon.
Just a little bit of extra spike. The proton you're talking about the Spire tactical consoles, or was it so not the Spire, it's the Rep ones?
The Dyson ones, yeah, the ones you get out of the box.
I don't think they're from the box. They're from the Rep store, actually.
Correct.
Oh, you could get them from the box as well.
Right.
Yeah, you get like
those,
plus proton and then plus torpedo.
Yeah, the one of the worst tactical consoles ever.
It's good for starter builds.
I think the trade is actually interesting. This one is actually a unique trade. So, but it really doesn't synergize with the ship, and I'll explain why. So the name of the trade is standoff, and when you're firing at the forward arc of an enemy, you get extra damage. They deal a little bit extra damage. So the reason why I say it doesn't synergize, it's a raider, right? You get raider the flanking bonus, or if you're on the rear 90%, you get like the raider flanking bonus. But this trait gives you extra bonus if you're on the forward arc. So it's a little bit weird. I guess you could say it's you have extra damage on 50% of the ship, whether you're on the rear arc or the front arc. I don't know.
Oh,
Seems
wait.
a little counterintuitive to me.
Wait, hold on. Is this the one where if you're... just correct me if I'm wrong. This is the one where you're charging into your opponent, you're facing them in the front arc, and you start blasting at them. You can kind of shut down their weapons and do a little bit more damage at them?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, actually that's not too bad for some initial PvP engagements. Then you can do your initial strike, break off, then do your cloaking runs. If you're forced to fight an opponent head on, you're not losing damage. But yeah, you're right. It's all for the ship.
It's also cheap for feds, at least. The packs are going for about $1 million.
I just picked up 4 of them for 800k a piece.
Yep. So, I mean, at that price, it's a no-brainer. Pick it up and play with it, at least.
For what little that is left of PvP, it's not a bad trait.
What is this PvP you speak of?
Well, alright, before it's broken all to hell with, like, immunity cheeses and insta-vapes, yeah, I know.
You're saying some letters, but they're just not familiar to me in that order.
PvP, player versus player, the chess match of geniuses, something like that. We're supposed to get good and be good.
That's like yelling at pugs, right? That's player versus player?
No, it's pug versus pug.
Sarcasm, bring us to the carrier, please.
The greatest enemy is yourself.
The carrier!
All right.
The carrier!
So, this one's a first, and Romulan characters rejoice, you finally get a carrier. This is the first actual carrier the Romulans have ever gotten. Finally.
Bork calls it an intel carrier.
Okay. I'm sure, why not? So it's a carrier, and it's basically got all the carrier things that you would expect from a carrier. A little bit strange though, it's got 4 forward weapons and 2 aft. So it's more of a science carrier. Let's call it a science carrier because, of course, you have the dreadnought carriers and you have the engineering-based carriers, etc.
I think the difference was that it lacks sub-targeting. And that was why it was articulated as an intel carrier and not a full carrier. There was a post by Bort, which I'll try to find, that said something about that.
Okay. Subsystem targeting is absolutely useless. You know what? The Karfi actually lacks the subsystem targeting, if I remember correctly. Or was it sensor analysis that it lacked?
I think the Karfi lacks SA.
In any event, let's keep going. 4 forward, 2 rear, so it's more of a forward-heavy ship, which isn't really a bad configuration, actually. The ship is actually pretty maneuverable for a carrier, 8.5 turn rate, 0.18 speed modifier, which is actually really fast for a carrier. 1 lieutenant, tactical lieutenant engineer / temporal operative, commander science / intel. Again, sciencey carrier with a commander science. 1 lieutenant universal, 1 lieutenant commander universal, so it's got the 2 universal seats there. 4 tactical, 3 engineering, 4 science, which is actually pretty decent. This isn't a bad ship. This is actually a really decent ship. It's got the Romulan battle cloak. It's got 2 hangar bays.
You can run the drones.
Can it? Can it run the drones?
Yep. Yes.
So yeah, this is a absolutely fantastic ship then. That, just the fact that it can run the drones and it can run 2 hangars of them, and this is going to be going to be something
right there.
That's going to be something to watch. Well, I wouldn't say it's too OP. Come on, it's got a commander
After the pet
science.
nerf, you're right, but OP in a relative sense.
For those who don't know, why are the drones such a big deal as far as carrier pets are concerned?
They have more abilities. They're faster. They're tougher. They're just better than every other pet out there. When all the other pets were struggling with their AI, where you just full impulse from one area of the map to another and your pet gets left behind, the Romulan drone pets would just zoom ahead of you. Like they would keep up with you. They have stuff like Faw in there. They're just really, really good pets. When the big pet nerf happened like a year and a half ago, wow, it's almost like 2 years now. All the other pets went into the garbage disposal. The only pet that was actually still doing anything like a reasonable amount of damage, like they were hardly affected by the pet nerf. Everything else just got wrecked, and the drone pets were still good. So just for the fact that the drone pets are fittable on the ship, or is going to make it a contender, it's not going to be. I'm not going to say it's going to be overpowered, but it's going to put it on par. It's going to be a decent ship. So it does have it is an intel ship, so it does have the intel mechanic, the gather intelligence, the exposures, etc., like that. Yeah, it doesn't have sensor analysis, and it doesn't have the subsystem targeting. Meh.
SA
Subsystem
SA
targeting.
is missed, but the sub targeting is a complete laugh. You're right.
One thing is interesting. It does have the mining laser, the mining drill laser from like from the first movie there from what was it named? Wow, whatever. So it's similar to a lance, but it seems to fire for if you it's a toggle, so you can toggle it on and off, and you can press the button and it'll fire for like a minute straight. I believe I saw that on the stream yesterday, with increasing damage.
BRB flying to Vulcan and trying it.
Well,
Too soon?
Yeah, the
Too
longer
soon
that
what?
fires, the longer that you know what? Yeah, no, you're gonna get shot down before you make it there. The longer that sucker fires, though, the stronger the beam does get. Yes.
So
yeah, it
it's
stays on for about a minute, and it's got a 360-degree arc.
Does it also let you kind of cut it on and off by demand? In other words, it's
Yes.
kind of like it's not. Yeah, Proteus knows what I'm talking about.
Total toggle.
It's a toggle.
Yeah.
And the recharge timer on it is based on how long the laser is fired.
Correct.
If you fire it for the full minute, it goes on a 2-minute cooldown. The full 2 minutes, I believe.
C. Yes.
It is a 360, which is really interesting. So passively, it just increases your shield capacity and gives you extra shield subsystem power. Here's an interesting note. This console mode. What's a mode? Anyways, this console mod can be equipped on any ship in any console slot. Are the other consoles the same?
Every last one of them, including the Vengeance console.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So you can put this entire 4-piece set on any ship in the game if you wanted to.
C.
Does that
Very,
include
very
tier 1
interesting.
ships?
Can you imagine a tier 1 Connie running around with a mining laser, a broadside barrage, and some proton and antimatter explosions everywhere?
Like 10
that'd
people
be
are
epic,
gonna
man.
like do that now. It's gonna happen.
And the
I'm gonna
M6
do it.
computer off of the...
Yeah, the M6 on top of that.
Oh, that M6 is amazing.
Let's hope it doesn't go rogue. The M5 kind of did.
So my question is, what kind of damage does the mining laser do?
All of these consoles, you're not going to get that much DPS out of them. I haven't seen specific numbers, but for me, they all seem to be pretty low. They're fun gimmick consoles, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, though, while these ships, there's one ship for each faction, not counting the Vengeance, you can still get the console of a ship that's not in your faction, because they're dropping separately from the boxes, and you can get them on the exchange. So some of them are fairly cheap.
Yeah, most of them are going for under 3 million right now. Dirt cheap. Consoles and traits from all of these ships can be had by anybody.
So here's the interesting thing. The trait, highly specialized. While this trait is slotted, when you activate an ability, it will cause all other specialist bridge officer abilities to recharge more quickly. In addition, you'll get a boost to Starship Hull Repair, Starship Weapon Specialization, Starship Particle Generator skill, and this stacks up to 5 times. So since this is an intel/temporal, it's gonna speed up your intel and temporal bridge officer abilities. Is that
Correct.
what I'm reading here?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's reading. It's okay. I wouldn't say it's game breaking, but it could boost if you're running heavy specialization abilities.
I see some command ships, some of the kinetic community that wants to bring up Concentrate Firepower 3 quickly to not have to rely on 2, to just run 3 and then run either Intel or Temporal and then just bring that up as well. As long as you're running another ability, it'll benefit from it. But if you're running one, nah.
So wait, doesn't that Constitution have command and temporal?
Why, yes, it does.
I wonder whatever you will do with that.
Rally point marker.
That might make an interesting torpedo boat.
No, I'm going to get that DOF that makes call emergency artillery come back faster.
You're kidding, right?
So you can suck at twice the speed?
Yes!
I hate that ability with a passion, you know it.
That ability is like one of the worst, and we told the devs it was bad. We told them it was awful. It's like, well, we don't want to, pump it up too much, because if we pump it up too much and afterwards we don't want to nerf it afterwards, and people will get upset that we nerfed it. Yeah, well, it's kind of useless.
Well,
It's
Cam, for true diversity, some stuff must suck.
No, not this bad. Not this. I mean, this is on par with demo teams and Kinetic Magnet.
I think I would
listen,
rather put Kinetic Magnet on.
When this ability was released,
Demo team for life.
when this ability was released, that ability could not take out a swarmer drone. You know what a swarmer drone is? It's like the weakest pet in the game. You sneeze
And it still
dies.
can't.
And it still can't.
That's rough.
So the weakest hanger pet in the game, which you literally look at and it explodes, this ability, call artillery or whatever it is, cannot put a dent in it. That's how bad this ability is. And for some reason, the devs, they just don't want to buff it up and make it useful. Sometimes the devs get really stubborn about stuff, and they just have things in their head and they just won't listen. But, if they want to make useless stuff that no one ever uses, that's up to them, right? If no one uses the stuff that they work hard to make, just move on to the next ship. Anyway.
Perhaps another factor, like buffing it would buff some NPC ability way too much or something like that. They've cited that reason in the past. I don't know how valid it is.
Highly doubt that's the case. And that lame old excuse of, we buff it too much, then fine. Buff it incrementally over a period of time to see where the balance falls. To see what the sweet spot is to make it useful but not overpowered. You don't have to give it a 50% boost right off the bat. Just give it a little bit here and there and test it out to see how it works. Hell, put it on Tribble. We'll test it.
No, we're going full motivation with this shit.
Yeah, you could give it a 10 times boost and it would still suck. But let's move on to the next ship, please. So here we have the Vengeance, which I was just outside on ESD and I saw like 5 of them outside of Earth Space Dock. It's absolutely massive. This one is huge. It looks great. It looks true to the movie as well. It's got that giant hole in the center of it.
It's an angry scryer.
It's, I guess you can say an angry scryer, a mix between the scryer and the Avenger. And during the stream yesterday, during Alan's stream, by the way, did you put that on YouTube yet?
Oh yeah. That finally uploaded at like 3 a.m. It took three. It sat at.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's up there.
So if you haven't had a chance to actually see the ships yet, I recommend checking out Alan's channel. If you haven't subscribed already, what the hell is wrong with you people? But in any event, so the vengeance here, I think it's actually it to me it looks like a very souped up version of the Avenger, or to be specific, the tier 6 version of the Avenger, the Arbiter.
Tier 6 Sovereign.
No, it's not a sovereign. So let's take a look here. 5 forward weapons, 3 aft. So right there, that's my favorite setup for a battle cruiser or a dreadnought. Bridge officer stations a lieutenant commander tactical. Right there. Commander engineering / intel, absolutely fantastic. And ensign science, okay. Lieutenant universal temporal, excellent. Lieutenant Commander Universal. Absolutely fucking fantastic. Pardon my language. I absolutely love this bridge officer layout. I mean, you can have the double Lieutenant Commander tacticals in there for, just that extra firepower. You can have the OSS 3 going in there without sacrificing much. I really don't want what's it called, surgical strikes, because it got nerfed into the ground. It's kind of useless, but if you want to have it, you can. Why not? But this ship is absolutely fantastic in that regards. Console layout, 4 tactical, 5 engineering, 2 science. It's actually fairly fast. This is really, really fast. 7 turn rate. Well, okay. Maybe I lied a little.
That's why
7
I said
turn
Sovereign.
rate. But no. It's nothing like the Sovereign. I'm sorry. The Sovereign isn't going to be anything remotely close to this. This is like an Avenger on steroids. Take a look at the Avenger. I mean, I know the Avenger is close to kind of like the Sovereign, but no, it's not.
I hate this.
This is really an Avenger. You take the Avenger or the Arbiter, to be specific, and you supersize it, give it like a dreadnought hull and the shielding, and you add like a hangar bay. The ship has a hangar bay, by the way, and you get the Vengeance. And for all purposes, the Avenger the people called it the baby Vengeance. Really, people thought it was basically a copy of the Vengeance when it came out. It looked very similar. So kind of makes sense to me that this is very close in that regards. It's fairly, I guess it is a fairly maneuverable ship for its size. I mean, it's big. It's really, really big. How big is it? Proteus, how big is the saucer
Connie
section?
look small.
The saucer on this boat is bigger than a galaxy.
Yep.
And I'm not even joking. This thing makes the galaxy look like pets.
Yeah.
And it is by far my favorite ship out of this entire expansion. It is my baby. And I've done some pretty amazing things with it right out the box. And I love it.
So yeah, it's a fairly decent ship. It's got actually a kind of decent console. So what I like about the console is its passive. I think it's pretty much the only thing I like about it, which it just increases the speed of which your captain abilities recharge, while increasing your maximum weapon power. Pretty nice. Broadside emitter arrays. When you trigger it, it'll shoot a bunch of energy weapons. Blah blah blah. Does a little bit of damage. It's not gonna kill anything. Really, that portion of it is just a gimmick.
It does phaser damage, by the way.
If you're doing a full phaser build, it does a pretty decent amount of damage.
Sure, okay. I'll take your word for it. I do like the pets for it though, but let's talk about the trait for a second before we get to that. Target rich environment. This one is interesting. While the starship trait is slotted, activating fire at will or cannon scatter volley will provide a small boost to weapon damage per weapon activation for a short time. As
Sounds
long
better
as
than it
this-
is.
Is it? Okay, stacks up to 30 times. So
It's
so
that's the one that's a Cat 1, so it's not all that great.
for a min maxer that's really filled up their cat 1 and their cat 2s and all the other cats, it's you might get like 1 or 2% out of it. 30 stacks though. How much per stack is it? Does anyone know the number?
1% cat 1 per stack.
So maximum of 30%.
Correct.
Okay,
Attack
so it's a,
it's attack console.
yeah, basically it's a TAC console, but so it's going to be like 3%, 4% depending on how saturated your cat 1 is and your cat 2 is. So not that big of a deal. It's interesting. So, again, not everyone has all the best starship traits out there. I mean, there's going to be new players and players that really can't afford to get every single ship with every single best starship trait out there. So I'm sure there are people who will get good use out of it. It's interesting.
I'm interested in seeing what the actual cycle is on this. Whether you're getting 1 stack per weapon per firing cycle, as far as the weapon activation itself. Is that what they mean?
It says per weapon activation. So I'm thinking if you've got 8 weapons firing, then you're gonna get like in the first half second you're gonna get 8 stacks. Or sorry, yeah, it's gonna be 8 stacks and then 16 and up to 30 in a few seconds. It'll take like 4 or 5 seconds to get that plus 30.
Which weapon system synergy behave that way? Hint, hint, cryptic. Hint, hint.
Yeah, good luck with that, Odin.
Shoot, I'm just trying to get torpedo flight speed to actually go a little bit faster and fly her apart, but you know how that went.
You got a better chance of getting Chakotay to come up on your show, bro.
Chakotay.
Well, so set bonuses. It's a 4-piece, 4 ships, 4 pieces. 2 pieces phaser and photon damage. Meh. 2-piece is a little bit extra resistances to kinetic and physical and a little bit extra healing thingy. Okay. 4-piece reduces the recharge time of all console pieces. We've seen this before. I think it was the first time it was done was on the Zindi set, the Zindi 4 set. On the Zindi set, it's actually fantastic. Here, I don't know, man. The most of these are kind of gimmicky, so I don't know.
Well, if you look at the 50% from the 4-piece, that makes that mining laser almost 100% uptime. Because it's got a 1-minute duration and then 2-minute cooldown. So if you use the 4-piece,
starts after.
yes,
It starts after. So you fire it for a minute. When the minute's done, it has a 2-minute cooldown. So 50% will bring it down to 1 minute. So
yeah, so it's 50% uptime. It's not bad.
Okay. Yeah, it's well. Not gonna talk too much about it. I'm not blown away. I'm not even like mildly interested. I want to talk about the pets though. So we have some new pets.
Those pets.
And I'm just gonna jump to the elite pets because really, come on, guys. You got the 2 new pets we have. Actually, we have 3 new pets. The other ships in the pack actually got some new pets as there as well, but later. Elite Kelvin Timeline Scorpion Fighters. So we have 2 Scorpion Fighters. Plasma beams, dual. Yeah, so it's got 2 plasma beams and a plasma dual beam bank. And their abilities is fire at will and reroute reserves to weapons. Both at rank 1. So interesting. And the one I'm also interested in is the assault drones that come with the Vengeance. So the Elite Kelvin Timeline assault drones, they don't actually have a lot of weapons, which is strange, but whatever. One phaser emitter and one Kelvin photon torpedo launcher. Okay. Abilities: ram when at low hull, ram enemy for heavy kinetic damage. So here we have the that qualifier, heavy kinetic damage.
Heavy will be
Yeah.
light, but I already see a problem with this in scramble fighters right off the bat.
There might be some issues there. So yeah, well, the Carfi has both the pets for the Carfi, the fighter and the frigate pets do the same thing, and those were always a little bit problematic. So we'll see. We'll see. It has a torpedo spread 1. That'll make you happy, Odin, and beam fired
No,
will.
won't.
So it's...
No, won't. Don't lie to me.
okay, I won't. The pet torpedoes are always garbage, but they're interesting pets. Like, I mean, they actually look better. They kind of like orbit the ship, and I wonder if they'll fit on other ships, like if they'll fit on the Jupiter or
Nah,
other.
they're bound to the Vengeance.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They look great though. The way they orbit the ship is is fantastic.
They perform pretty good too. I've tested them out in a couple of ISA runs, and they're actually surprisingly better than I thought.
And all these pets are stealing my concentrate firepower!
You know it. But yeah, the pets, I mean, initial first run, I took the Vengeance out, did an ISA with a couple of fleet mates, nothing big, nothing major, no big DPSers in there. And I pulled 83k in the Vengeance with Mark 10 white weapons, and the pets did 6,000 DPS by themselves. Just a messed up run, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by them.
Okay, so that's just one sample. But 6k DPS for one hangar is more on the meh side. I would like to test this out a little bit more to see what they can do.
Oh yeah, like I said, it was a garbage run. I mean, we weren't really going for speed or anything like that. It was just do it and see what happens.
That's about it for these ships. And we talked about all the other ships in the previous episodes, in the previous podcasts, last week and the week before. So I'm guessing you guys don't want me to go over those again.
No, but I will ask the panel this, though. We'll start with our guest here. Which one of these ships is your favorite and why?
Wow. That would be the Vengeance. And that would be strictly for the appearance of it. I mean, the performance is cool, but it is my favorite because I love the way this ship looks and the way all of the shield graphics and the materials that you could use on these hulls look so amazing. No matter what you choose, what combination you put together, it still looks amazingly detailed, and I love every minute of it. It's my favorite, hands down.
Mikey.
Well, oops, sorry about that. Well, most of these ships don't really appeal to me in the sense that, I'm probably not going to fly them. They're not really my bag. But aesthetically, the Vengeance is, one of the things I actually did like about Into Darkness. And so seeing them fly around is pretty cool. And as you said, the trait has some utility for folks that don't have a lot of high-value traits. So the Vengeance is probably my pick.
Really? I would have thought the Connie could have possibly made an interesting heel boat.
Ish. I'm just not a fan of the aesthetics. Not that Thomas didn't do a fantastic job. He did. I'm just not a fan of the original design very much.
Sarcasm, what about you?
That's a bit of a tough one. So just let me do an audio check. Can you hear me? Perfect. This is a little bit of a tough one. Performance-wise, I mean, they're all pretty decent. I like the Klingon one, although I don't have a Klingon character. I like the Romulan one, although I don't play my Romulan character. I'm not a fan of the Connie itself. I never liked the actual JJ Connie much. So, but the Avenger was one of my favorite ships, and the Vengeance just has that something to it. So I'm gonna go with the Vengeance there.
Zeph.
Connie for sure.
Wow. Any reason?
I just out of the lot, it just appeals to me the most. I actually I don't know. It just the design of the ship. It really 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 appeals to me. It flows really nice. Yeah, it's just really aesthetically pleasing. Like all the ships look nice, but the Connie is hits with me the most, I guess you could say.
SOB.
I'm gonna have to say the Vengeance. It helps my immersion the most. It looks amazing. It does great damage. Just these phasers firing from it just looks just so amazing. I've just spent the last like 20 minutes in the Badlands battle zone just watching them fire. It's just great.
It beats the old regular beam spam, huh?
Yes.
And just for the record, Fire at Will works perfectly with these.
Yeah, well, it's the same. It's the same thing as the Vodwar beams, if I remember correctly. They did the exact same thing.
They're
You
just not
remember
as
them?
cool.
Wow,
Of course.
I don't know about that. They're close enough. I mean, people were doing the whole, "Oh my God, it looks like Battlestar Galactica" when the Vodwar things came out. So it's pretty much exactly the same mechanic. It's just a different color. It's just a recolored Vodwar beam.
No, Cam, you're ruining my immersion. These are
Good.
cooler.
You know what, Proteus? Have to say something. I'm sorry you
Are
got
you going to show me a
offended.
picture of your fields again?
No.
Your
I'm
Baron?
I'm sorry that you got offended. I'm not sorry that I offended you.
Oh, you bloody Canadians.
He pulled the Canadian card.
All right. Give me the highlights of the release notes here, because I know a lot of us want to get back in game and start playing with all the other folks out there, and I got some giveaways to do, courtesy of Papa Bridger out there, who has been kind enough to donate a couple of things on behalf of the show to give away. So, thank you very much, good sir. Release notes.
Okay.
What's the highlights? Stuff that we should pay attention to.
So this is just my personal thing. I went through the patch notes, and it's like a really long list, and you guys have probably seen all of them. I just want to highlight a few things. In the mission journal, the Breen and Borg arcs got switched. Don't know why. Don't know if it affects anything. It's just done. Bah, whatever. They reordered the reputations as well. So I guess nice. I don't know. Whatever. I guess the events being at the top is actually a good thing, as well as the temporal is up there at the top, so that's a good thing. Gravity well at all ranks will now more reliably trigger attached effects. So if you have the, for example, the DOF that shuts off engines or anything else similar to that, those will proc more reliably now.
ICP.
Finally.
Relax, Odin. You got. There's a couple of things in here for you. There's. Relax, Odin. Sit down. Everyone, calm the fuck down. Sit down. Let me
Dude,
finish.
no.
Okay?
Hold on a second, though, because that gravity well change helps for all those folks out there who have invasive control programming, as well as the DOFs. I mean, this is just going to be sweet news for them.
Yes, I was testing it out today, and I've definitely noticed a more effective gravity. It was just a gravity well 1. Definitely more effective. So that's interesting. Micro photon torpedo launcher kit.
You're welcome.
And Odin significantly increased the strength and reduced the recharge time. So you're going to have to test that out. Tell us how it works on the ground. You're going to have to go on the ground actually to test it out, but now you have a reason to.
The members of the Kinetic community would like to personally thank Proteus for doing this, because we mentioned this on the show a couple months back on how this thing looked like a deflated condom trying to fly through the air, and stated why this should be changed. Proteus, though, was the driving force on this, so thank you very much, good sir.
Hey, all I did was put in a report saying this might be bugged because it's not performing the way the other one is performing. That new one that just came out, it's like, it's not, there's no comparison, no unity there, so you might want to look at that. And I guess they fixed it.
Very nice. Feedback pulse got changed. This was an interesting change. So it doesn't actually do feedback pulse damage anymore. It does the same type of damage that it is reflecting. So if you're getting hit with plasma, it'll reflect plasma back. Now, there are a few things in the meta that we have to test in regards to this. I'm not going to talk about it on air at the moment till we actually know for certain. But that's an interesting change. We'll see how that actually affects the meta. Another change, this one was probably a long time coming. Radiant Nanite Cloud. Radiant Nanite Cloud has been a problem child since its inception. This has been the cause of so much lag. I remember the winter event, 2 winter events ago, when the Breen came out. It had a trait that synergized very badly with this trait and caused server crashing lag. Like, literally, you can crash people to desktop with this. And then there was the whole the Mobius console thing. So that got fixed. Those got fixed. But Radiant Nanite Cloud from the Dauntless can only be triggered by Bridge Officer abilities now. Bridge Officer and Captain abilities now, instead of every single source of healing that there is.
Indeed. It's a major lag mitigation, but it also got a heal buff. So at least for my build, it won't be changing much. I'll probably get a little more HPS out of it, but the folks that were heal spamming in CCA, for example, probably won't like this.
This is going to affect a lot of people. Yeah. I know myself, I've had builds where I've had like a constant heal going on myself, and just, having that Nanite Radiant Cloud just radiate the area. It's a Radiant Cloud. Radiate the area with healing just non-stop. So I guess for fixing lag, this is actually a very good thing. Omega Kinetic Shearing. Omega Kinetic Shearing.
Cam, wait. Make sure you mute Odin before you do this, because he's going to go full Cisco.
No. I'm good. Really,
he listened to me. He calmed the fuck down. He sat down. He's got his diapers on. So Omega Kinetic Shearing now uses the pre-resistance damage values to calculate the damage over time instead of the post-resistance. So that's something. And resolved an issue that was causing Omega Kinetic Shearing damage over time effect to not be subject to resist. Well, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
it's
slight buff to torpedoes as far as the Omega Kinetic Sharing dot not counting. Not being subjected to resists. Huge quality of life improvement versus shielded targets if it is working properly, where Omega Kinetic Shearing damage is calculated from the pre-shield impact torpedo damage. Because prior to this expansion launching, the damage was calculated based off of whatever made it to hull, and then it wasn't benefiting or having anything going against it as far as whether the hull resists of the target. So it was just, all right, whatever made it to hull, and take 40% of that, and that's it. Game over. Move on. Now it's pre-shield resistance damage, pre-anything damage, take that 40%, then apply it to hull, and if it has either positive or negative resist on that hull, apply it to the dot.
So
Good
it's
quality of
something.
life improvement.
It's something. So if you're a kinetic person, torpedo, whatever, I'm getting sleepy just, thinking about it. Congratulations. Yay. Let's move on. Charged particle burst. Now this is one of my favorite PvP abilities when I used to PvP back in the day. They've changed it around a little bit. They've actually increased the amount of drain it does. It now does 200% the amount of shields that it used to, and leaves a lingering debuff. I love this ability. If this was the best anti-vapor ability that there was out there, because it can knock people's cloaks offline. So if you have a vapor, this is what I used to do. I used to play a counter vapor. So I would wait for someone to decloak and try to vape someone, and then I chase them down. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm running away. I'm gonna hit cloak," and I'll be like, "Nope, charge particle burst, die." So that got a little bit of a buff. So it should be interesting. There's actually some doffs that go with this that do kind of this about 2 different doffs that affect this. So I don't know if it's actually useful in PvE. Probably not. It's probably still useless in PvE environment, but if PvP comes back, then yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the discussion to the TOS stuff, or not the TOS stuff, the IOE stuff, Agents of Yesteryear or Yesterday or whatever it was. I really haven't played with this stuff. Really, like I said at the beginning of the show, I only just unboxed the ship and got it mastered, and that's about it. I haven't done any of this stuff. So you guys have, so I'm going to be asking you guys to talk about it. Let's start off with the TOS faction. Who's actually done a new character yet?
I've got one all leveled up to about a level 11 so far. I've done the entire TOS storyline. Pretty nice. I actually enjoyed the entire immersion effect. The whole grainy film look and the whole 9 yards is really, really well done. Storylines are great too. I mean, the epic voiceovers from the iconic stars. I mean, it's just, there's so much to offer and so much immersion with this TOS setup. I mean, you just can't go wrong. Make a new tune, try it out. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's some nice stuff from Nimoy in there that I didn't expect.
Yeah, that was a very that one particular moment was a very unexpected turn.
Yep, worth playing, absolutely. They put a lot of effort in, and it shows. It's nice. There's a lot of vitriol about the film grain, which is not that bad, but it seems that out of all the things to complain about and all of the things that I've heard complaints about with AOI, the thing I've heard the most complaints about is the film grain.
I mean, get over it already. It's like, what, 10 levels? 10, 11 levels. It passes by in half an hour. Just, suck it up, Buttercup.
I mean,
Yeah, it's ridiculous how much people are going to complain over that when there's other things that are breaking the game to complain about, but they complain about that.
Yeah, I'm with the general on this one here. I mean, going through it, I'm not completely done with it yet. But again, like I said at the top of the hour, for a person that hates leveling alts, it wasn't painful. And that's saying a lot. That means I could enjoy it. If I was a person who liked to level alts, I would enjoy it. Just like what Borka said, that Spock scene where he's running in like something big's going down and he does his little monologue there. Nice touch. It was good.
Without spoiling it too much for me, who hasn't played it yet. What about you, Alan? I mean, you Secret's out now. You've been playing around with the ships for a while. You haven't told us about it, bastard. And so you've had a lot more experience with this. What are your thoughts, bastard?
Pretty much the same thoughts as Proteus. And I know Proteus has a very high, I'm going to say, expectation out of content. and the fact that he's impressed with it is actually good. But no, I think I don't see the film grain as being too much of a problem. It's putting you in the mood for the TOS stuff, which is awesome. I like the TOS style sector map, and the Earth space dock. It's all puny and stuff. The mission's really well done. Tells a great story. Ties in nicely later on with other things. Spoilers. I won't say anything. But no, just really well done. I'm really happy with these set of missions and the other missions that will come later soon, trademark, depending on how fast you go through the story.
We'll talk about some of the missions in a couple of minutes. But a question I'm going to have, is this going to be the same as the Delta recruits? So is there, well, you know how with the Delta recruits, you have, like, as you're going through the storylines, not just, this faction specific stuff, but there's little Easter eggs or missions throughout the rest of the arcs that you have to, like, find things or interact with things. Is there going to be something similar for the TOS faction?
I don't know. I've been playing through the TOS stuff as we're doing the show, and I'm just starting Azure Blues. But from what I remember reading, is I think it's going to be the same kind of deal where you have to look for things as you're going through the missions. But yeah, you'll have to wait for more confirmation on that. I'm not entirely sure on that part.
I can chime in on that because I just did the first one, and yes, it is very similar to the Delta event, to where you do specific missions in the list, and you have to find the temporal node, I think it's called, or beacon or something like that, and you got to manipulate it, and you get credit for it. But as far as the Delta event was concerned, it was a little easier to do that one, because there wasn't as much that you had to cap out to, get all the goodies. Like, people like me, I like getting all the goodies. This particular system is going to be more long-term because of the number of things that you have to progress to, and achievements that you have to plateau onto. And some of them are a little lengthy, like the Admiralty system being one of them, where you have to cap out all 3 to level 10, and the specialty or specialization points, you have to get 3 of them to full mastery, 3 of the primaries. So it's without giving away too much of it, it is going to be a little bit more involved than the Delta one was.
And it's only available to the TOS faction. I'm guessing my current main tune can't actually participate in that, like the Delta recruit.
I think, yeah, no, you can't, like your main alts from before, they can't participate, but they can reap the benefits of your TOS's progression, kind of like the Delta event. So if you, Proteus, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe if you finish like the Klingon arc, you get the story reward or whatever, and then that is claimable at a lower rate, but on all of your other alts, right?
Correct, yeah. Everything that you unlock with this new TOS event will be translated to your account character, so you can claim all the stuff, like the new specialization points and stuff like that, and the new the trait. There's a trait coming with it. Spoiler.
Interesting. All right, so there's one thing. I'm sure all this information of like where you have to go press the button or puzzles. Talon84 said there's like puzzles in there. I'm sure Reddit will have a full list of where everything is. It usually happens. It was pretty fast on the Delta Recruit event. But speaking about Reddit, I did notice there was a post. Someone posted a picture of a console, which was some kind of temporal shielded, time shielded computer that can survive being dropped down a Jeffrey's tube or something like that. That was a little bit amusing. Is that from the TOS faction thingy, or is that from somewhere else?
That's part of a spoiler.
Oh.
Yeah. It's part of because if you play through the first few missions in the TOS, you'll see exactly the point in time where that particular device is mentioned.
Yeah. So we're not going to talk about it. Spoiler.
Yeah, let the fans, because the fans are gonna eat it up with a spoon when they
Yeah.
see these missions. They're gonna eat up all these little details, especially the Battle of Caleb 4, the very end. For those of you who don't like looking through cutscenes and escape through them all, I highly recommend you do not escape any of the cutscenes in the Battle of Caleb 4.
Yeah. Or you know what? For that matter, don't a lot of the cutscenes in the TOS part of the story arc are actually really, really, really well done. There's some really good, and you know me, film guy, there's some really good ship cutscenes in battle where there's like a nice pan. There's tractor beams where you actually see the momentum of the ship kind of drift downwards as it gets let go from a tractor beam. The cutscenes are really well done, and there is a bit of story that is included in that, which will help everything make sense later on as you keep going. So, if you're still a little wary about grinding another alt, I would say give it a whirl for the story. This story so far is pretty worth it, especially with the missions that'll come later at whatever point they come later. I'm not going to say when, but the story is really, really, really good.
So I just have to take a moment here because Talon 84 just blew my mind. Apparently the Paladin, which is the Tier 6 temporal battlecruiser, has a cloak.
Really?
OMG.
Also, those ships we found out last night have a unique bridge. The 26th century ships did not know that because I didn't even bother to go check the bridges when I was doing the videos. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do these 5 ships, one video. All right, these 4, this video, these 3, this video. It's just I need to get through this so I can stay on schedule with everything, my own schedule. And we're on the live stream, and somebody's like, I want to see the bridge on the one of the 26th century ships. I'm like, I think it's just the same as the temple ship, but okay, we'll go check it out. And we beamed up, and I'm just Proteus was there. I'm just like, what? What?
Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't remember this bridge from anywhere.
Yeah. So apparently in the 26th century, officers don't have chairs, like they don't sit anymore, and I think the captain needs to sit cross-legged on the floor and issue commands that way because there's no chairs on it. But there is a scene, I believe it's near the end of the stream, if you guys want to go check it out, or if you know somebody who's purchased the pack. I have the pack, Proteus has the pack, or if you know a friend who's got it, go check it out. It's a really neat bridge.
So
I have a theory.
Bridge is the same. So those are we're talking about like the stuff like the Paladin stuff. Does that include the factionless ships as well, or do those have a different bridge?
The factionless ships, I remember actually checking those bridges, and I believe that has the same. You know what? No more guessing. I'm gonna go check right now. I believe, and this was on Tribble too, and before a lot of the bridges made it to the ships. But when I checked, I'm pretty sure it had the same bridge as the whatchamacallit, the Wells and the Mobius. Give me a couple of minutes to figure that part out.
Sure. So I only have 3 of the ships so far. So I got the Kronos, which I am absolutely loving. Absolutely love this ship. I think someone on the stream mentioned yesterday it kind of looks like the Narcine, and I agree. It is very. I think that possibly in the future they got influenced by the Zindi in that regards. But it looks absolutely fantastic. Loving the ship. I have a nice feedback pulse tank build on there, and it's wrecking some face. So it's quite interesting. I also got a Vengeance, so thank you very much, Odin for that. I'm going to be testing the snot out of it very, very soon. And I did pick up a paladin as well, so I'm going to be testing that out as well. So I'm, Talon, you got me really interested as well. I already had the paladin before. You mentioned it had a battle or a cloak. I'm guessing it's not a battle cloak. It's going to be a normal cloak. But now I'm even more excited to test it. I might even push back the Vengeance and do the Paladin before the Vengeance in that regard, since I guess a lot of people have picked up the Vengeance. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm getting a server SNR on here. Oops. So one thing I did notice on the stream is that especially for the Vengeance Bridge and the Constitution Bridge, the Connie Bridge, the view out the window changes out of the view screen, the forward view screen, that changes depending on which ship you have.
But sorry,
right?
Wait, what?
You talking about the view between the Vengeance and the Connie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it basically allows you to see out the window, and you're looking at the hull of your ship, depending on which ship you're in.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fantastic. I can only think of one ship that they did that with, and that was the Aquarius Bridge on the Odyssey.
Voth Bridge kind of did that too. Sorta.
Did it? Well, no, because you couldn't really see out the window of the Voth Bridge. You had that big cliff fall off at the front of the bridge before you can actually look out the window.
Yeah, true.
You can jump out of the view screen of one of the new ships. Wow.
Proteus, with the level of detail that's been put into these ships here, what do you think about them?
Oh my God, I am truly and totally amazed. The artists, I mean, if you guys get these guys on to the show, they deserve all the praise in the world for the jobs that they have done on these ships, because as an artist myself, I pay attention to details and the little things, and it was just so nice to see a refreshing change between the ships of the past and the ships that they release now with all of the new bridges and stuff. I mean, there's so much attention to detail. Even the little screens on the control panels on the bridges are high res, not like some of the old style ones where they're pixelated and blocky. You walk up to these things and it's like, wow, you can actually pick out details of the ship in itself and all the controls and whatnot. I mean, flabbergasted.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, in my videos, one of my main aspects is looking at all the little details. And one thing I noticed with the exterior of the ships is that they were spot on with the hit points of the ships. They were spot on with where, okay, going to the interior. One thing that I talked about on the stream is on the JJ Connie, when you're on the bridge and you look down at the floor in front of the view screen or window, whatever, it actually looks like a marble floor. Like you can see minor imperfections in the floor, like you know how marble finishes, there's little divots in and stuff like that, and it's not a solid color, but it's got a variation of like a dark and a light of that color. It's got all of that in the floor, and this is actually they got a new developer. I believe he does the environmental stuff, and he started a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months. His name's Donnie, and this is his first project with Cryptic, and he set the bar on the stuff. Like the attention to detail on the bridge is amazing. When you look out the window of the JJ Connie and you jump, you can actually see the forward center phaser arrays there on the hull as well. It just their game, like their design game, is fleek, just awesome, on point. Yeah. It's if these bridges are any indication of the type of stuff that we can expect in the future, I am a happy camper.
Get
Also,
this man on the show.
Also, the 31st century ships do have the same bridges as the Wells and Mobius, just confirmed now.
Which ones are the 31st?
The Kronos.
The Kronos,
And the
Ouroboros, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you for that. By the way, how do you kill time? You cook it, chop it up, add some oregano. But let's move on. Thank you
Wow.
Jesus.
Okay.
we were killing time. Well, Alan was checking out the bridges there. Let's move on to the missions. So apart from the TOS faction missions, there are extra missions there, and I got the pop-up for it. I haven't actually played the mission yet. The first one is Galandon Core, I believe.
Don't play him on there.
Sorry, what was that?
Roll a new alt and start from the beginning.
Okay, well, I am planning.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, it's my main character. I have to.
No, don't do it.
Fine, I'll make an alt. Although there are some bugs, I've heard that some alts can't actually progress after a certain point. We're gonna have to be careful about that. I'll make the alt. I'll get him up to level 10 or 11, or get her up to level 10 or 11, depending. And then I'll jump back to my main and try things out.
On the topic of bugs, I have to say, bug-wise, and the SNRs, I think this is one of the smoother expansions, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far.
Oh, God, yes. The past 2 years, this has been the smoothest experience I have ever had.
There's a lot of SNRs, and I kind of noticed that on Tribble last week, or last couple of weeks when I was doing the filming. And I actually said to you guys in TeamSpeak, I'm like, I hope these SNRs don't copy over to Holodeck when the expansion goes live. And lo and behold, I'm experiencing the same SNRs in Holodeck that I was getting in Tribble. But the SNRs, they're a little bit fewer. I had one bug when I created the TOS character where none of the mission things came up, but that's already been answered and be like, yep, we already got a fix for it, which I believe is coming tomorrow. Other than that, I haven't had any other bugs. I haven't crashed. The game is smooth. This is really good.
Interesting. Well, I've had like 2 SNRs and during the show just the past hour and a half, so yeah, I agree with you there. So let's actually go back to these new missions without giving too much spoilers. I know, Protus, you've played them on Tribble, and Alan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know what you've been doing on Tribble now. So Odin as well. I think Mikey, have you actually, any of you guys, have you played these new missions? Any of these new missions? And without spoiling it for me, what are your opinions? What are your thoughts?
I haven't touched any new missions. Was the time I was on Tribble just testing out a couple of mechanics here and there.
Get off your crusading horse and do other things other than torpedoes.
I can't. It's my job. Somebody has to keep Bordicus on his toes.
LOL.
Well, I can say at least the love for the original series is super apparent from the devs. I mean, it's in every little bit of everything I see. There's a lot of how would I say it? There are very Proteus said, you're an artist. I'm not an artist, but if you're visual, you tend to pick up on very small details more readily. And there's a lot of really little. I've been watching TOS kind of as a lead up to AOI. I know a lot of you guys out here as well have gone back and watched original series episodes, and they nailed it. The environments are perfect. I mean, that's the one thing I can say right off the bat. It just smacks me in the face how well they've rendered the environments.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you for that. Speaking about smooth rollout, I'm just waiting for the next Tau Dewa gate to drop. But let's move on to the next thing, the other new things. I mean, there's so much new things here in this expansion. I mean, we're running out of time, but so we have a new spec, a new reputation, and new queues. Let's talk about the spec and the reputation and your thoughts on it. I mean, I briefly went over the specs. I put like 19 points into the new spec in there. I haven't actually started the reputation yet. I gotta get on that. But what are your thoughts? You guys have experimented with this. What are your thoughts on this?
I personally haven't touched the trait system because, well, you know why now. I haven't had time to do that stuff. I think Proteus played around with it more than I did, though.
Yeah, I've done some extensive tribble testing. As far as the spec and the temporal rep goes, this is not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be another instant win button for the tactical builds out there. I mean, this is a very specialized specialization, to coin a phrase. It's literally based heavily on exotic abilities. Tanks might see a lot of use out of this. Healers may get some use out of it, but it's specifically designed for the exotic science users. And I'm not talking about the guys that run FAW builds with a couple of science powers. I'm talking about the guys that are specifically doing heavy exotic damage. This is what this is for. This is their moment to shine. This is their upgrade, basically. I mean, it's very heavy exotic, and it's very nice stuff. I mean, a lot of the dots and the debuffs and stuff like that come with it that trigger off of all of your exotic abilities is going to be amazing when people get a hold of all of it live.
It looked very, very sciencey, and I didn't quite fill out the tree yet. I still got a little bit to go, but I think Spencer's not here anymore. But he mentioned that it actually might be for the high-end meta. It might actually be a good replacement for Intel on the primary. I'm not convinced yet. I haven't tested it out fully to really know. I haven't run it yet. I'm still running Intel. I'm running Intel and Strategist, but it's interesting. It might affect the meta. I mean, some of the high-end meta, you mentioned the people who run FAW and some exotic abilities to do a little bit damage, and that really is the high-end meta right now, or one of the high-end metas right now. So if that benefits that as well, not just the people using science, I'm sure like the pure science build are going to get a good buff out of it.
Oh yeah, like my build, everybody knows the exotic gravity whale build, the huge debuffs and all that stuff, and I mean that build specifically is going to benefit the most from this stuff. Now, granted, yes, the high-end metas like the FAW with a little bit of science flavor thrown in, they're gonna benefit from it, and I could see it replacing Intel, kinda, but like you said, there's gonna need to be more testing and more number crunching before that's confirmed positive that Intel is out the door. But I do see science users, that the heavy science users, benefiting the most from this.
Okay, so the temporal rep, what do you recommend out of there? Is there any good traits out of it?
Well, the tier 5 one, obviously, it's another active space rep power. It's actually pretty good if you use it in conjunction with a gravity well, because it does a lot of shield penetrating physical damage and reduces the flight speeds of whatever's in that range. So if you've got the gravity well already there and throw that on top of that, it's going to pull everything towards the epicenter, which will exponentially increase all the damage they're going to take from everything you toss on top of that gravity well. So that's actually a beneficial one for just about anybody. The other ones, the counterstroke, whenever you're affected by control, you get more severity. For 5 seconds. I don't see that really being a big boost. And I haven't really tested the controlled countermeasures either with the bonus energy weapons, but other than that, like I said, the tier 5 ability is the only one I see really being worth something.
Interesting.
I second that.
What about the items from the reputation? So weapons, console, unique weapon, or the ordnance set, the actual gear, deflector, engines, shields, whatever. Are those any good?
They're fabulous.
Wait, you didn't say that right.
Look, there's a ground torpedo waiting for me to try it out.
Lol.
There's going to have to be a lot of testing done to know whether that stuff is going to be great for everybody. But from my personal testing with my science abilities and my one tactical tune I used, the Chronoton beam array with the console with the 2-piece bonus actually benefited because it was already well suited for the anti-proton build. So, I mean, if you're running anti-proton already, that 2-piece bonus, along with the new proton anti-proton weapon and the console, could actually benefit some higher end builds and stuff like that. But it just depends on what you're running and what you're looking to get out of these sets. I mean, it's not going to be the end all be all. Here's your DPS. Have a nice day. Go do stuff. It's you got to look at it and see what situations it'll be good for your builds.
Fantastic. And I heard the pretty much all the gear from this rep is let me see if I can say this correctly. Fabulous.
Fabulous
right?
is dead spot on, Cam. Yes, for all those who haven't tested it, who haven't seen it, every visual in this set, the shields, the engines, the deflectors, the weapons, they're all loaded with rainbows, including the T5 ability. It's one big giant ball of rainbows. It's like a disco ball in space. That's how fabulous it is. And yes, everything has it.
No one's going to grief with any of that.
Yeah, nobody's going to grief with that stuff.
Mikey, you might remember this, but a long time ago, I had a Avenger that was called the Care Bear Stare.
Absolutely, I remember that.
That kind of twisted some heads around a little bit. There was a rainbow boat, but I think I'm gonna resurrect that. I'm gonna
because
bring
now you can have a rainbow boat with actual rainbows.
Yes.
Well, to be completely canonical, there is a grumpy Care Bear.
Yes, there is. Oh my god, I totally forgot about him.
So Cam gets to carry a little rain cloud around on his belly everywhere. That's cool.
As long as that
grumpy.
rain cloud has some gravel under it.
I don't know why you guys say I'm always grumpy. I'm actually very happy.
This is
You
extremely happy.
sound happy.
You totally sound happy, dude.
Exactly. I'm a very positive person. So, okay, let's talk about the cues. Again, I haven't tried them out yet.
The grumpy cat is very positive.
Oh!
Get out.
Major, shut that thing off!
Wow, that's too punny, man.
And that's what sleep deprivation does to the emergency role-playing immersion hologram.
That was just, no. Anyway, to the cues. I've actually tried it out. One on Tribble, one on Holodeck. I don't know. I mean, I like the Kill the Doomsday one a little bit because that's actually a decent kind of player mechanic, but it drags a lot.
What?
Time
Time gates? Really?
Yes, a big one. 10 minutes.
They've started adding time gates to STO. When did this happen?
I don't know, man, but they need to quit it.
The other one, though, felt like I was just going through Groundhog Day, only in the worst elements of it. Hey, here's a whole bunch of portals. Here's a whole bunch of crap coming out of it. Close them all, kill the item, kill the mobs, work as a team so that one person closes them, the other kills it, or kill him really quickly so you can close it yourself, blah, blah, blah. And then do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. But each time you do it again, it's more mobs. And that's it.
And more difficulty level.
And I was like, okay, I can see this mob spam, yeah. And what's new?
It got very deja vu.
It got very boring quickly. Oh, you're going to add more. Okay, all right. They're dead.
While I like the concept of the STF, I think this would have been better served as a featured episode rather than an STF. Because honestly, it feels more like an episode than a queue.
Thank you, yes.
So the queues are not the only place to get the reputation marks. The battle zone got upgraded. Well, got the reputation marks added to it, so you can go to the Badlands battle zones if you get sick of doing the queues. And it's not even been a day yet, and people are already bored of it. So, yeah.
Has anybody checked the Nicole Temporal Red Alert to see if the marks are dropping in that? Because that's supposed to be an all marks event.
I haven't.
I honestly haven't seen one all day to check, so I wouldn't know if there is one going on or if they added it to it, because I haven't seen a red alert for the Nicole all day.
I wonder if they got rid of the Nicole red alert. We'll find out.
That would be annoying. Yeah, we'll test that out a little bit later, because I see, I was in the beta quadrant, I did a Borg, then I jumped back into the alpha quadrant, and all I saw was a Borg and a Tholian. So you might be onto something there.
Yeah, because Nicole, I could run into that any which way.
Well, yeah, because it was always there no matter where you popped in. There was the red alert for the Nicole, and I've gone all over sector space, testing out the new ship and the quantum slipstream drive, blah blah blah, fanboying, but I have not seen one Nicole red alert all day long.
Mr. Hutjabba says in chat that the Nicole red alerts are gone. Wah wah wah.
Wow.
That's not cool. Okay, you can kick me off.
That explains that then.
Anyway, carrying on. Anything else we want to bring up about this release here, aside from it actually being an incredibly smooth release?
I do have a conspiracy theory.
Go for it.
In regards to the bridge we found last night by accident, there are no chairs whatsoever on this bridge. And it led me to one thought. Maybe the future has a lot more Native Americans in it, American Indians, and they all sit cross-legged, and you have to use that as your cross-legged Akuchimoya kind of moment and get all Chakotay with your bridge.
Chakotay.
Maybe.
Admiral Chakotay coming to STO later this year, confirmed.
Yes, Robert Beltran.
Do you actually sit on the ground cross-legged?
Well, you can emote the sit, but there's no chairs on this bridge anywhere whatsoever.
Okay. Well, you see, in the future, I believe they have butt tractor beams. Kind of, push you up. That's more like a repulsor type, thing.
Is that somewhere along the lines of the butt transporter, so you don't have to use the bathroom?
So yeah, it's an extension of that. Yeah. There you go.
Science.
It works. Even if it's a little bit weird.
Oh, Odin, I had an idea. So we were actually supposed to have some other guests tonight on the show, but that's gotten pushed back. Maybe next week, hopefully, fingers crossed.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. We're not going to mention them yet, but they will definitely be discussing ships.
Oh, so you know what? We were also talking about getting the ship artists on, or trying to get the ship artists on the show. If we can get them both on at the same time.
That's my plan.
That'd be pretty nuts, actually.
I want to get. My
That would be
plan is to
amazing.
try and get Thomas and Donnie on. So we'll see.
So keep tuned, guys. We might have something exciting in the future.
By the way, the ship discussions are continuing on over at Reddit with these new ships, so we'll provide the link in the show notes. Check it out. Leave a comment on there if you have something to provide to the discussion. Keep it constructive, folks, although everybody typically does. I just want to make sure, keep it constructive, keep it positive, and heck, you might learn something, even if it's a different build for it.
Thank you kindly.
But of course. We're going to move over to space and tech on this one here, because we're definitely doing a lot more space on this one. What's going on with this over here, Grumpy Cat, on Phobos and Deimos?
Okay, well, there's been a multinational group from Europe, from Japan, I think from America as well, that have been kind of like crunching the numbers and, thinking about the mystery of the two moons of Mars. Mars has two small moons, Deimos and Phobos. They're actually tiny moons. One is like 22 kilometers and the other one's like 15 kilometers.
And they're
something
weird because they're retrograde.
Are they retrograde? They're not. Actually, they are
I thought
not.
they were. No?
They are not. They are not retrograde. There are very few moons in the system that are retrograde. I believe Titan is one of them. But in any event, the issue with them is we really didn't understand why Mars had such weird moons. They're kind of strange compared to all the other moons in the system, and scientists were trying to figure out how they were formed. And there's an interesting theory now on how they were formed. They were looking at there's a giant crater on Mars. It's called the Borealis crater or something along that line, which takes up about 2/5 of the planet's surface. So 2/5 of Mars' surface is actually an impact zone. And what they're saying is that in the past, very similar to how Earth's moon was formed, Mars was struck by a protoplanetoid that threw up a lot of debris into the orbit around Mars, and that orbit coalesced into multiple moons with some fairly large moons being created. Unfortunately, the bigger moons actually got pulled into Mars, not because they were retrograde orbit, but because they were within the, what's it called? Do you remember is it the rock limit?
The rock limit, pretty much where any body would be, any body need a certain momentum and distance away from its parent body before it falls into its gravitational field.
Thank you. That's it, exactly. So the larger moon actually fell into the rock limit and basically fell apart. It became a ring and then just fell back into orbit. It's not going to happen with Earth's moon. The thing about Mars, the difference between Mars and Earth, is that Earth was spinning so much faster. When the moon was formed, Earth was spinning so fast that it didn't pull the moon in. There was some tidal effect going on here, and it kind of pushing the moon outwards a little bit. Mars rotates a lot slower than Earth, so there isn't that tidal effect going on. In fact, it's the opposite. So Earth's rock limit is 10,000 kilometers? I don't know what it is in caveman miles, but the moon is 36,000 kilometers away. 36,000 kilometers? 36 million? Oh, I don't remember anyways. So it's not going to fall to Earth
about 320 300 and something kilometers.
360 kilometers, I think. Yeah, and the limit.
Yeah.
Yes, numbers. So
big number.
So
the Roche limit.
Yeah, so Mars had multiple moons, including big ones. These fell, actually, most of them fell and got destroyed and got pulled apart, and whatever. And the same thing is going to happen to one of the moons, the bigger moon, the one that's 22 kilometers. Is that Phobos? I don't remember which
I
one's the
can't
bigger one.
remember off the top of my head, but yeah, but the bigger one of the two will eventually get yanked apart by gravitational shearing and then scattered into itty bitty pieces and then fall into Mars.
Very, very interesting. The smaller one is going to stay. It's beyond the rock limit, so it's not going to happen. They've actually, on the bigger moon, they've actually started noticing the stress marks on there. So it's already happening, and it's going to happen fairly soon. In cosmic terms, it's going to take about 10 million years or so. So like a blink of an eye. Very fast in cosmic terms. So this is very, very interesting. There's 3 articles that I linked at it. One is from nature.com, which is a PDF, and it's very technical, and it might kind of like blow your minds a little bit. There's one from arstechnica.com and a third one from space.com. If you're interested in that type of stuff, I highly, highly recommend you check those articles out. They're going to be in the the show notes.
Yeah, brush up on your orbital mechanics, by the way, if you're reading the PDF.
Yeah, it's quite something. Now, get to the technology part, or the lack of that. There is a channel on YouTube that I've discovered called Primitive Technology. Now, I recommend you guys check this out. It is what it's named, Primitive Technology. This guy, you know what I love about this channel is it's very educational, very informative, and the guy does not say a single word throughout the videos of his. And he's showing stuff like how to build grass huts, um, you know, how to make atlatls and how to make slingshots, primitive technology. He's showing how they're made from start to finish, and he's got a number of videos out on them. And again, he doesn't say a word, and you learn so much from this video, which is surprisingly rare. The quality is pretty good. So I recommend this channel if you're interested in that sort of thing. I know like we're all, geeks and nerds and love our electronics and stuff, but sometimes it's interesting seeing some of this stuff. So if you're ever stuck on a desert island somewhere, you might be able to actually survive more than a day.
I mean, him building a shelter and using the atlatl as a weapon is just, it's awesome. I looked at it as like, again, like what you said, without a single word, you can look at the video, pause, rewind, go back again and see like, oh, here's the step to use how to do this. Here's how we bent the stick. Obviously, you need a little bit more of a flexible stick in order to be able to make a ring. And here's how he was able to tie it together. And this is what he uses for as a knot. It's just amazing how he's done that. And it makes it look so simple that you can actually follow along and do it yourself.
Yeah, there was one where he did a stone axe or a hatchet of some kind. That was absolutely fascinating how that was done. The last one was a grass hut. So yeah, it's interesting.
I need to see
Check
the
it out.
axe one.
Yeah, it's there somewhere. It's absolutely fantastic. The link is going to be in the show notes.
Not the patch notes, the show notes.
Wait a minute, I can't speak anymore. I talked a lot tonight.
Where are the patch notes?
Somewhere between here and Ryza. Go find it.
Boy, we didn't do tomorrow's patch notes, but fuck it, there was nothing in there really.
There is an
Two
extra
little
patch, so
fixes.
folks who didn't get it, go get it now while you still got time. Well, you'll have time anyway, but still, get it. Any closing remarks, anybody?
Chicote.
Well, we know that. All right, go watch Zeph Films. Go watch his stuff. I mean, it's just gorgeous. If you want to see the ships and you don't own them yet. Obviously, we want to give a big kudos to Cryptic Studios for doing a very smooth rollout of a big expansion. I can't talk either. It's late. So, yes, very good job in doing so. Let's keep hammering out those bugs, and don't be a chicken as far as confronting any of them. Congratulations, team. Good job on the rollout. This is the show. We'll see you out there.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Yo.